Action always comes before motivation, not the other way around. Most people believe they must feel inspired, confident, or emotionally ready before they move, but that belief quietly keeps them frozen. Motivation is reactive. It responds to progress. When nothing is happening, motivation has nothing to attach itself to. Action creates the spark that motivation feeds on, which is why waiting to feel motivated is a strategy that almost guarantees delay. Motivation is unstable because emotions change daily. Some mornings you feel driven, other mornings you feel heavy, uncertain, or distracted. If your progress depends on how you feel, your results will always be inconsistent. Action, however, is a decision, not a feeling. When you act by decision, you remove emotion from the equation and replace it with structure, which is what progress actually requires. Every meaningful breakthrough begins with movement, not clarity. People often say they are confused, but confusion usually disappears once action starts. The mind becomes clear when it has real-world feedback. Acting gives the brain information, direction, and evidence, while overthinking only multiplies doubt. The fastest way out of uncertainty is execution. Motivation feels good, but it is not dependable. It arrives late and leaves early. Action shows up even when nothing feels good. That is why disciplined people outperform talented ones. They do not wait for emotional alignment, they create alignment by moving first. Once action begins, motivation follows as a byproduct rather than a requirement. When you act without motivation, you build self-trust. Each small action proves that you can rely on yourself even when conditions are not ideal. This proof is far more powerful than positive thinking. Confidence grows from evidence, and evidence is created only through consistent action taken in real situations. Action also reduces fear. Fear thrives in imagination, not in movement. When you sit still, the mind exaggerates risk and invents worst-case scenarios. The moment you take action, fear loses its grip because reality replaces imagination. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable once it is engaged directly. Most people mistake planning for progress. Planning can feel productive, but without action it becomes another form of delay. Action exposes flaws in plans, but that exposure is valuable because it allows improvement. Progress requires adjustment, and adjustment only happens after movement has begun. Motivation is often tied to external validation, praise, or visible results. Action is internal. It is driven by commitment rather than applause. When you rely on action instead of motivation, you become independent of circumstances. You stop needing permission, encouragement, or perfect timing to move forward. Action compounds faster than motivation ever could. One action leads to another, creating momentum that makes future actions easier. Motivation, by contrast, must be constantly renewed. Momentum, once built, carries you forward even on days when energy is low and confidence is absent. The people who win consistently are not more motivated, they are more decisive. They act while others wait, adjust while others hesitate, and move while others analyze. Their advantage is not emotional strength but behavioral consistency, which turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and reassuring, which is exactly why it quietly limits growth. When life becomes too comfortable, urgency disappears and potential goes unused. Comfort creates the illusion that things are fine as they are, even when progress has stopped. It doesn't attack ambition directly, it slowly sedates it, convincing you that waiting is reasonable and that effort can always happen later. Growth demands tension, resistance, and challenge, yet comfort removes all three. In a comfortable state, there is no pressure to improve, no reason to stretch, and no hunger to evolve. The mind adapts quickly to ease and begins to protect it, avoiding anything that threatens routine. Over time, comfort trains you to choose what feels easy over what leads to expansion. Most limits are not imposed by lack of ability, but by an addiction to convenience. People often say they want more, but their daily choices are designed to maintain what they already have. Comfort keeps goals theoretical while habits stay unchanged. It allows dreams to exist safely in the imagination without ever demanding sacrifice in reality. Comfort encourages delay. It whispers that tomorrow will be better, that conditions will improve, and that there is no rush. This quiet postponement is dangerous because it feels logical, not lazy. Days pass, then months, and eventually years, all while comfort keeps you occupied with distractions that feel productive but require no risk. Fear often disguises itself as comfort. Staying where you are feels rational because it avoids embarrassment, failure, and uncertainty. But avoiding discomfort also avoids growth. Every skill, opportunity, and breakthrough exists on the other side of something unfamiliar, and comfort ensures you never cross that line. When comfort becomes a priority, resilience weakens. Challenges feel heavier because you are no longer practiced at facing them. Discomfort, when faced regularly, strengthens adaptability and confidence. Comfort, when prolonged, makes even small obstacles feel overwhelming because the mind is no longer conditioned for struggle. Comfort narrows perspective. It shrinks vision to what is manageable rather than what is possible. Instead of asking what could be built, the focus shifts to protecting what already exists. This mindset trades long-term fulfillment for short-term ease, slowly reducing life to maintenance instead of creation. True growth requires intentional discomfort. It requires choosing effort over ease, discipline over indulgence, and progress over familiarity. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is evidence that expansion is taking place. The areas that feel hardest are often the ones producing the greatest transformation. Those who grow the most are not reckless. They are deliberate about challenging themselves. They step into discomfort on purpose because they understand its value. They know that comfort is not neutral. It actively resists change by keeping everything exactly the same. The longer comfort is allowed to dominate decisions, the harder it becomes to break free from it. What once felt optional becomes intimidating, and what once felt challenging becomes avoided entirely. Growth does not disappear suddenly. It fades gradually as comfort takes control of daily choices. Discipline is the visible expression of how much you value yourself and your future. It is not about restriction or punishment, but about alignment between what you say you want and what you are willing to do daily. When your actions match your intentions, you demonstrate respect for your own word, and that integrity becomes the foundation of long-term success. Self-respect is easy to claim but difficult to maintain without discipline. Anyone can feel motivated in moments of inspiration, but discipline shows up when emotions fade. Choosing to act despite fatigue, distraction, or discomfort is a declaration that your goals matter more than temporary feelings. This choice, repeated over time, builds a strong internal standard. Discipline creates trust within yourself. Each time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you reinforce the belief that you can rely on yourself. This internal trust reduces doubt and hesitation because you no longer question whether you will show up. Confidence grows naturally when promises are kept consistently. Without discipline, potential remains theoretical. Talent, ideas, and ambition mean little if they are not supported by structured action. Discipline turns raw potential into measurable progress by providing consistency. It is the system that allows growth to occur even on days when motivation is absent. Discipline protects your time and energy from being wasted on distractions. It establishes boundaries that prevent impulsive decisions from derailing long-term goals. Saying no to what feels good in the moment is often saying yes to what matters most in the future. This ability to delay gratification is a powerful form of self-respect. Many people associate discipline with external control, but true discipline is self-directed. It is not enforced by pressure or fear of consequences. It is driven by personal standards. When discipline comes from within, it becomes sustainable because it is rooted in identity rather than obligation. Discipline simplifies life by removing constant decision-making. When habits are established, actions no longer depend on mood or circumstance. This simplicity reduces mental fatigue and increases efficiency, allowing more focus to be directed toward meaningful work rather than internal negotiation. Self-respect grows stronger each time discipline is practiced under difficult conditions. Acting when it would be easier to quit reinforces the belief that you are capable of handling adversity. Over time, challenges lose their power because discipline has trained you to respond with action rather than avoidance. Discipline also sets the tone for how others perceive and treat you. Consistent behavior signals reliability, seriousness, and credibility. People are drawn to those who demonstrate control over themselves because it reflects strength and clarity of purpose. When discipline becomes part of your identity, effort transforms into momentum. Actions feel less forced and more natural because they align with who you believe yourself to be. At that point, self-respect is no longer something you think about. It is something you live through consistent, intentional action. Clarity is rarely the result of thinking longer. It is the result of moving forward. When people feel uncertain, they often stop and analyze, believing that more thought will bring more understanding. In reality, hesitation keeps the mind trapped in assumptions. Action introduces real information, and real information replaces confusion with direction. Confidence does not appear before action, it is built through action. Waiting to feel confident is a common mistake because confidence is a reaction to evidence. Each step taken, no matter how small, provides proof that progress is possible. That proof strengthens belief far more effectively than positive self-talk ever could. Action simplifies complexity. What seems overwhelming in the mind becomes manageable once it is broken into motion. The moment you begin, priorities naturally reveal themselves. You learn what matters, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment by engaging with reality instead of imagining outcomes. Clarity comes from feedback, and feedback only comes from action. Plans look perfect on paper until they meet real conditions. By acting, you discover what works and what doesn't, allowing you to refine your approach. This process of adjustment creates a clearer path forward with each step taken. Fear thrives in inactivity. When nothing is happening, the mind fills the space with doubt and worst-case scenarios. Action interrupts this cycle. Movement grounds you in the present moment, reducing the power of imagined obstacles. As fear diminishes, confidence naturally increases. Action turns vague goals into specific tasks. Instead of being overwhelmed by the size of an objective, movement forces focus on the next step. This focus creates momentum, and momentum makes progress feel achievable. Clarity emerges as goals shift from abstract ideas into concrete actions. Confidence grows when you see yourself respond effectively to challenges. Each problem solved through action becomes a reference point for future situations. Over time, these reference points accumulate, forming a strong belief in your ability to adapt and figure things out. Action removes the pressure to have everything figured out in advance. It allows learning to happen in motion rather than in theory. This reduces paralysis because perfection is no longer required to begin. You realize that understanding is built along the way, not before the journey starts. The more you act, the quieter doubt becomes. Doubt feeds on uncertainty, and uncertainty fades when you are engaged. Even imperfect action produces clarity because it creates forward movement. Standing still keeps questions unanswered, while motion produces solutions. Clarity and confidence are not destinations you arrive at through thought. They are states you develop through consistent action. Each step forward sharpens understanding and strengthens belief, creating a cycle where movement fuels certainty and certainty fuels further movement. Identity is not defined by what you say about yourself, but by what you repeatedly do. Every action you take casts a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Thoughts and intentions may shape desire, but execution shapes reality. The mind learns who you are by observing your behavior, not by listening to your promises. Each time you follow through on a commitment, you reinforce an internal narrative of reliability and capability. When you delay or avoid action, the opposite narrative is strengthened. Over time, these patterns solidify into identity. You don't wake up one day with a fixed character. It is built gradually through consistent execution. Execution removes ambiguity about self-belief. You do not have to convince yourself that you are disciplined, focused, or capable if your actions already prove it. Identity becomes obvious when behavior aligns with values. This alignment eliminates internal conflict because you are no longer trying to think your way into becoming someone different. People often try to change identity through motivation or mindset shifts alone, but mindset follows behavior. Acting like a focused person creates focus. Acting like a leader develops leadership. The brain adapts to repeated actions and begins to accept them as part of who you are, making change sustainable rather than temporary. Execution creates credibility with yourself. Self-esteem grows when actions confirm intentions. Each completed task strengthens the belief that you can trust your own decisions. This self-trust becomes a stabilizing force, reducing hesitation and increasing decisiveness in future situations. Identity formed through execution is resilient. It does not collapse under pressure because it is grounded in experience. When challenges arise, you respond based on what you have done before, not on what you hope you can do. Past execution provides reference points that guide present behavior. Without execution, identity remains fragile and aspirational. You may think of yourself as capable, but without evidence, that belief is easily shaken. Execution hardens identity by exposing it to real conditions. Surviving those conditions strengthens belief and solidifies self-concept. Execution also narrows the gap between who you are and who you want to become. Each action reduces that distance incrementally. Instead of waiting for confidence or clarity to appear, you become the person who acts despite uncertainty. This behavior becomes automatic as it is repeated. Your environment responds to executed identity. When others see consistent action, they adjust expectations and opportunities accordingly. Execution signals seriousness and commitment, shaping how the world interacts with you. Identity is reinforced externally as well as internally through visible behavior. Over time, execution stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. What once required effort becomes part of routine because identity has shifted. At that stage, growth accelerates because actions are no longer debated. They are simply expressed as a reflection of who you have become. Small actions often feel insignificant in the moment, which is why they are so easy to dismiss or postpone. A single disciplined choice rarely creates an immediate, dramatic result. Yet progress is rarely built through sudden leaps. It is built through quiet repetition. What seems minor today becomes meaningful when repeated consistently over time. Daily actions shape direction. Each small step either moves you closer to growth or reinforces stagnation. While one action may not change everything, it contributes to a pattern, and patterns determine outcomes. Success is less about intensity and more about alignment practiced repeatedly. Compounding works because consistency removes the need for constant effort. When actions become habitual, they require less mental energy and less resistance. This allows progress to continue even on low-energy days. The power is not in the size of the action, but in its persistence. Small actions reduce overwhelm. Large goals often feel intimidating because the mind focuses on the distance rather than the process. Breaking progress into daily steps makes movement achievable. Each completed action provides momentum, making the next step easier to take. Over time, small actions reshape identity. Repeated behavior sends a clear signal about who you are becoming. A person who acts daily, even in small ways, begins to see themselves as consistent and reliable. This shift in identity strengthens commitment and increases follow-through. Compounding is subtle at first. Results appear slow, leading many people to quit too early. What they fail to see is that progress is accumulating beneath the surface. When the results finally become visible, they often seem sudden, but they are the product of long-term consistency. Small daily actions build confidence through evidence. Each completed step confirms that progress is possible. This growing confidence fuels further action, creating a cycle where belief and behavior reinforce each other. Momentum grows quietly, almost unnoticed, until it becomes difficult to stop. Daily actions also create resilience. Missing one step does not erase progress if consistency is the norm. Because the system is built on repetition, it can absorb setbacks without collapse. This stability allows growth to continue without emotional extremes. The power of small actions lies in their flexibility. They can be adjusted, improved, and refined without stopping progress. This adaptability keeps momentum alive while allowing learning to occur naturally through experience. When small actions are chosen deliberately and repeated consistently, they transform effort into force. Over time, what began as simple discipline evolves into strength, influence, and momentum that carries progress forward with increasing ease.